Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yep.
But there is one thing that she does that really kind of gets to me, is that when I had bronchitis, I think it was last winter, I had bronchitis and I had a really bad cough. She picked that up.
Oh, funny.
So she'll be in there going, you know, and I'm like, stop it, Hannah. And she'll go, she'll giggle.
Yeah. And people say that birds don't have personalities, but they absolutely do.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
She does. We had this, they're like little ropes that you buy that you hook onto the cage, and she's got one of these ginormous cages, so she has a lot of room in it. And we have this one rope that goes from end to end of her cage, and she kept standing on it and chewing on it, because they like to chew, especially wood.
They do like to chew, yeah.
Wood. And she was standing on it, and she kept chewing and chewing and chewing, and I'm like, Hannah, honey, you're going to break it, and then what are you going to stand on? And then one afternoon we heard this crash, boom. And we went running into the room. It's Hannah's room. We went running into Hannah's room, and she's on the floor of the cage, shaking her head like, "What the heck happened?" And her little rope is just swinging in the breeze. But you finally chewed right through it. But you don't chew on what you're standing on.
Oh, well, she's a baby. She hasn't quite learned yet.
Oh,
so have you replaced the rope?
She doesn't chew on her new one.
I was going to say she learned her lesson. See, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that is just too funny.
But she's a lot of fun. The kids are all fascinated with her and stuff, and you do have to be careful with her, because they do tend to nip.
Yeah.
If they don't know you, and if they deem you as being aggressive,
right.
They're going to bite you, and their beaks could bite a finger right off.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So we've had to be very cautious with the babies being around her and stuff. But, Gary or I, we can put our hand up and pet her head, and she'll tuck her head down for us to pet her, and because she knows us, we're like her mommy and daddy, because we chose her from infant.
Oh.
She was first born, and now here's my husband, who claims, he's not psychic, but we went in to see the little newborns, and we're having the opportunity to pick which one we wanted, and he felt drawn to Hannah, and so the lady was asking us, as soon as you know what you'd like to name her, let us know, because we can, register her under, that name, because, they have the band on their little feet that identifies them. And Gary just looked at her, and then he looked at me, and he goes, "She said her name is Hannah." And I looked at him, and I go, "She said?" And he goes, "Yeah, I heard it plain as day."
See?
Mm-hmm.
They know. They know. Now, does she dance?
No, but I've not seen her dance per se. But one of the idiocies of her is that, we always put in, fresh water for her every morning. And for some reason, she confuses her fresh water with a bathtub.
Oh.
And there's this little bitty, cup, container for her water. And she sits in it, takes her feet out and shakes them, and, puts her beak in it and tosses the water up and stuff, just bathing. And we're like, honey, that's your drinking water. So we decided we'll give her a second cup.
Uh-huh.
Did the same thing.
Oh, she doesn't distinguish between the two?
No.
Oh, funny.
No.
You'll have to put a little shower in there or something.
And you have to be really careful, of course, about language, because, they're like little 2-year-olds. They'll repeat everything.
Oh, absolutely they will. Yes.
Yeah.
I was telling you yesterday, actually, while we were talking about her, because we were talking to her on Skype. And growing up, where my parents lived, it was up a cabin up in Brainerd, Minnesota, and we would go up there every summer. And of course, every small town has their convenience store / bar / restaurant / pool hall / whatever else they can fit in there. Well, they had a great big parrot. I don't remember what kind of parrot it was at this point, but I mean, it stood about 2 feet tall. I mean, it was big. And it had been there forever. Well, it knew nothing but swear words. So before we could go over there, my grandparents would have to call them and tell them that the little kids were coming up. And then they would take the parrot and put the parrot in the back room. But of course, we knew the parrot was there, so we just wanted to go see him. So they always said that he was sleeping. But then you would hear him in the back room talking away. You couldn't hear what he was saying, but you knew he was back there.
Yeah.
But so we would say, but he's not sleeping because we can hear him talking. And he says, well, he talks in his sleep.
Yeah.
And we believed him. So I think I saw the bird twice in the many years that I went up there. But I love parrots. I love them. Love them.
Yeah, we don't use swear words here in our home, and we had a little conversation with our grandson because he likes a lot of the rap music, and some of it has not very nice language, and he knows that he's not supposed to listen to that music.
Yeah.
And he'll sit in the kitchen with his laptop and has it blaring so he can sing along. And boy, I had to break ugly on him this weekend and told him, look, my bird is like a 2-year-old, and they will repeat everything they hear, especially if they like the sound of it.
Yeah.
And so I said, you cannot listen to this music in my home, much less will your parents allow you to listen to this music.
Right, exactly. So has Hannah picked any of that up?
No,
Oh, good.
not at all.
Good.
She's a spiritual bird.
Yes, she is. You're gonna have to teach her to say, no, Blake. You can't listen to that, Blake. That'll toss him right over the edge.
Mark is the older one. Blake is the baby. Mark is the older.
Or Mark is the older. Yeah. No, Mark, you can't listen to that.
She says Mark. She'll be like, Mark. Or and she doesn't say April like you and I would say April. She goes April.
See, she's scolding. She knows how to scold.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, my neighbors had cockatiels. She would breed them. Oh. And she had one named Coco that was the mom. And Toby was I think it was Toby. That was the male. And Coco loved to dance. That's why I asked. But only to certain music. And she would dance around. And you know how birds will just bob their head?
Yeah, she does that.
Yeah, but if you took Coco out of the cage and put her on the floor or on your shoulder, whatever, and dancing, she actually would do twirls, and she would jump around, and she would roll around. She actually, this bird really got into her dancing. So that'd be like her exercise. She was the funniest thing to watch.
There was one time where I wished I'd had my video recorder handy because this is when Mika was a puppy. And we let Hannah out of the cage. She walks around and goes all through the house. And but this one evening, we had bought Mika these little rawhide chew toys. Mm-hmm. And this one like a little donut.
Okay.
And Mika had been chewing on it, and he walked away from it. So Hannah comes up, and she grabbed that chew toy by her beak.
Yeah.
And Mika perks up, and he's like, because Hannah stole his toy.
Give me my toy back.
And she started running with that chew toy in her mouth, and her little feet are just going as fast as they can, and Mika's like on her tail barking at her, and you could hear her going laughing as she was running. And I was like, I wish I'd had that on video. It was the cutest
that would have been funny. That would have been. But those two get along, or do they nip at each other?
No, Hannah likes to go for his tail because the Shih Tzu has the real foo-foo fluffy fan tail.
Yeah.
And she likes to go for his tail. And yesterday when they were in the office, both of them, when Hannah's loose, she always comes right to the office here. And both of them were in here, and Hannah had walked up to me and was, poking at my bedroom slipper, and Mika had a fit. He had a fit. Bark, 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 get away from
That's
my
my
mama.
Slippers, yeah.
Yeah, those are my slippers. I sleep with those.
That's cool that they get along, though.
Mm-hmm.
That's all good. It's all good.
But when we had our kid's dog, when the kid's dog was staying with us, Gizmo, and he really is a gizmo. It's like, we don't know what kind of dog it is, but it's, so ugly, it's cute.
It's all one of those, yeah.
Yeah. And we would never let Hannah loose with him around because we didn't know what his reaction
Sure.
would be
Yep.
to to the bird.
Right. Well, what
And
was
Tracy,
and you
were
wouldn't know what
asking-
Hannah's reaction would be either at that.
Yeah.
I mean, they would just think it's another Mika and want to go play, and all of a sudden, there's Gizmo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
turning
Tracy
around.
was asking in the chat room if we still had Simon from when we had the shop in Pulaski, and the answer to that is no. When my son and his family came to live with us up in Messina, they brought with them 3 dogs, which we were not happy about.
No.
And they were blue healers. And so we had one day had to go to Burlington with my sister for her cancer treatment. And just as we got into Messina, we got a phone call that, Ricky had Hannah out and he thought it would be okay. And
Not Hannah, the other one. Simon.
The dogs got him.
Oh.
So we were heartbroken because Hannah he was a character.
Yeah. Simon, you mean, not
just
Hannah.
a character, yeah. So we did buy another African gray, and that's Hannah that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah,
That's
no,
great.
Sherlock would not want to play nice with Hannah, I'm sure.
No, probably not. Sherlock has no toys because he doesn't understand the word "don't rip it apart" means. It's not figured out that. I will go and buy him. In fact, this is kind of funny. I went to, when I first got him, because Rocky had a whole box of toys. And Rocky used to go and pick and choose which toys he wanted to play with. And I actually had all of my dogs trained that when they were done, before we went to bed at night, they had to go and pick up all their toys and put them back in the box. But they could take like one to bed. But Rocky always picked his pillow. Well, Sherlock doesn't have that concept. He has no clue. So, shreds everything, I get him. So I went to the pet store and I explained to the owner what kind of a dog Sherlock is. Now, he is a yellow lab Shar-Pei pit bull mix. Beautiful dog.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the body and a tail of a lab, so it's got the golden color to him. His shoulders are white. His shoulder blades are white. And then he's got the Shar-Pei neck and forehead, and then it goes into the pit bull nose. So he's beautiful.
Oh.
Big floppy ears. Beautiful dog. And a wuss. Scared of everything. So I go to the pet store and I said, okay, I've got a dog and I just adopted him. And every toy I get him, he shreds. So I can't get any, I need something really tough. And the owner said, I've got the perfect thing. They just came in. They're foolproof. They're made out of this really heavy-duty plastic and fire hose. You cannot destroy these, and it's been tested. So I said, okay, perfect. So I bought them. I bought 2 of them. I bought one that looked like a bone and one that looked like a Frisbee. I brought him home, and I said, Sherlock, I have a toy for you, and I gave him the Frisbee. I no sooner had the groceries unpacked than the Frisbee was all over the living room floor. That's how this was indestructible.
Foolproof.
Yeah, foolproof. So the only toy that he really plays with is his tennis ball, which is a big tennis ball, big one. And whenever he has to go outside, I know he has to go outside because he has that ball. And what he'll do now is, now that there's snow on the ground, he will dig a hole and put the tennis ball in the hole, cover it up, run around the yard, and then go find it and dig it up.
And that's when he's ready to come back in.
And that's when he's ready to come back in.
That's cute.
So
yeah, Mika has his collection of toys, and it was funny, because we bought Christmas stocking of dog toys and stuff, or one for Mika and one for Gizmo. And Mika's were green and white, and Gizmo's were brown and tan.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because we, showed both dogs, this is your present, this is from Santa. And we opened them up and showed them. And Gizmo wouldn't play with any of his toys because he's just not that toy-playing dog.
Yeah.
And Mika, we put them all into one little, container. And Mika only plays with the green ones.
Oh. I wonder if they're colorblind.